top, different background.
Yeah, it's all right, brother.
That's cool. That's fine. The tree is actually on our book. Actually, is on
now it actually seems better.
You can see me more. Yeah, the other one is busy, but it's kind of that's going to be
because I can tell, like before when I was talking to you, that the lip sync was out, but now it isn't.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's true. Yeah, okay.
So, yeah.
Maybe it took up a lot of memory.
Yeah.
So we're meant to be approaching the food. So this has led me up to the food. So what I realized, so had a big separation, came across gifted with Jinshin Jitsu, started doing the Jinshin Jitsu, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I was revisiting trauma after trauma, just it was like changing a channel each time I might move from a certain point. For instance, I would do large intestine a lot, and there's a sequence, and then I'd move to the next point, and then it's just like boom, a whole nother scene. So it's as if certain blocked stagnant energy memory was in the pathway of from hand to hand, and then I moved down, and hence you see why stagnant energy stuck in the body manifests. It always starts astrally on the etheric, and then why manifests in the physical, and whether tumor, polyp, whatever it may be, or accidents, many stories. So that was beautiful. So I was doing that for nearly about 3 months. It opened me up more. Life seemed to speed up. If anyone can get that, it's just like just quadrupled. It's like, whoa, hang on, it's just like you're going rather than 20 mile an hour, life seems to be going 60, 80 mile an hour, and then events would be manifesting quicker, etc. And I come across an interesting guy, and he had talked about a water fast that he had done, and he didn't need to brag. He didn't even need to bring it up. I just offered him some food at a time at a festival, and he said, no, I'm fine. And he hadn't ate for a year, and hardly any water as well. This was like 19 years ago, nearly 20 years ago. So that really blew my mind, because I didn't know anything about any of that. So, I kept obviously, finding out a bit more from him. So I was really keen. I was ready for change. I wanted a shift, I was kind of lost still, and it's like anything that would say fasten that process up to get me back. Also, it really resonated to me as much as the Jinshin Jitsu did. So I go on the feeling, and it's just like, go with that feeling. And the more we go with that feeling, which I see as the intuition, we can call it many names, the more stronger it gets. And then with the more closer we get to a connection, and I realized I had this connection up to about 16. It's not I'm any special from anyone else. We all have this connection.
Yeah, I get you.
So that was amazing. I was going to do a water fast, and then I come across another amazing guy where I was working. He was working in the same area, in the sort of office part. It was to do with biofuels. And his name, young Adam at the time, amazing, beautiful soul. He had passed a few years ago, and he was just really knew his nutrition as well. And then, I just see him with a smoothie cup most days. I'm like, so how come you just having that? And he just says he's just on a detox, But I think from what I remember, that's all he was on, especially for that month. And he was a raw vegan foodie, At that time, even vegan was extreme to me, The word vegan is just like, how do they do it, I was what they would call pescatarian.
Yeah.
So from the age of from the age of 30 to the time I'm talking about, 44, 45, I had no, animal flesh. But I had
You
fish.
say from the age of 30.
Yeah,
That's so interesting because that correlates with your Saturn return.
I know. Yeah, there's
And
some
that's
great
like
stuff.
kind of the similar story to me, but anyway.
Yeah. And then, around that, I mean, that's epic in terms of astrologically and
Yeah.
what was going on at that time for me. I'd separated from another long-term relationship, that was 9 years. So, yeah, I mean, we can have some great chats on astrology, honestly. I remember learning the astrology when I was 17. And then when I realized, and then I'm looking ahead, it's like, man, I hope I'm sorted by the time I'm 28. Because I knew what was coming. Never mind about a Saturn return. I had Pluto.
But the thing is, was you aware of? So you knew about a Saturn return at that age. So that's an advantage you have because I didn't.
Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
obviously, as I've studied it and got really into it, now everything just makes sense of why.
Oh, especially when you look back.
Yeah. So, like, for me, it was more of a bit of a kick up the backside. All these mad things happening to me, but now, like, I can really appreciate it for what it actually is because I understand the cycles of nature and why particular things happen at certain times. So
Yeah.
you can appreciate it more,
Yeah. And, us as a human species, we're so misplaced. We're so out of sync. So
Definitely.
what do we expect, Because we so identify. We're so in the, ego doesn't have to be a negative connotation, but it tends to be in the negative aspect of our egos of what we identify with, and it's not us, it's just imprinting, and you imagine especially from babies. I mean, the imprinting starts in the womb. That's going in this book as well. And even before that, is it genes? Is it, or is it just habitual? Let's just say it could be, epigenics, or, but I would say a combination.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably a bit of both.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because, like, it's funny because obviously, like, in my life, generally, I've always struggled like with weight issues, like going up and down and this and that. But it's funny because not funny, it's ironic because basically when I was born, I was like really big. So it's been something that I've kind of had from birth.
Yeah. So you got that imprinting,
Yeah, because like I was like 11 pound when I was born.
Oh, well, that is big.
And
Yeah.
apparently, it's not
I think
bragging.
my partner's going. Poof.
Yeah, but apparently the year I was born, I was the heaviest baby in the hospital in 1983. That year I was born.
Wow.
So I've had.
Was your mum a big woman?
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I've always like kind of had this thing with me, but like, obviously, like since my Saturn return, I've come onto my like spiritual journey. Like obviously I've improved, but obviously you can always improve, So it's just I understand that things are not going to happen overnight, and we just got to train ourselves to, like, how can I say, get to our destination and not give up at the end of the day,
Yeah, definitely. And obviously the biggest thing is not to give yourself a hard time about it, but obviously you recognize certain imprinting. And I mean, that would, a lot of us are just emotional eaters.
Yeah,
so,
that's with me, big time. Taurus moon.
Taurus moon, okay. Yeah, I get that. So, but in terms of, let's just say, so I recognize my emotional cravings, or, recognize myself as an emotional eater. I'm not going to deny this. So, but at the same time, I have challenged that by doing long fasts, many long fasts. And it's not really per se, the old identity of me, because the old identity, Pete, wants to hang on to dear life, doesn't want change.
Yeah, of course.
But when I get sort of whacked on the head, on my knees seized up, and all these different things, okay, I'm getting it now, And I got fed up with, like, big fires, big this, big that. So, I made a pact with myself 18 years ago to find as many tools and protocols as I can to keep my system flowing. So,
Yeah.
and to stay as aware as I can, I look back, it's like, well, yeah, I've done a good job. And like you mentioned, we can always do better. And it has only got better. But, what is the better? It's just getting back to a sense of ease,
Yeah, exactly.
And I would say it's a birthright, that's been denied us. There's so many layers to this, but
Yeah.
so if I'm going to go back to the book in terms of even the parents beforehand. We talk about love. Do we really know love? That's an interesting thing. On a level, we do our best. So how was we conceived? It goes back to that. People do fasting for different ceremonies. People, really have a ritual and respect many other things, but conceiving and birth is just like there's not really any formula that is, let's just say, promoted. So, or where I see again, it would have been known. We would have been more aligned, more in high vibration, eating cleaner foods, not junk foods, and not, eating corpses as well. That's my thing. It might trigger people, but, so we would have been eating living foods,
Yeah.
the living foods, and so then we would have conceived. It's like, to me, it's a no-brainer. If you're going to plant something in your garden, most people are going to get the best seed they can, heirloom seed, the best soil. So there's the dad, there's the mum. So we try and sort ourselves out before, Don't give yourself a hard time, everyone, because I've done that many a times and not really had that awareness. But if that was more reiterated and known,
What's interesting as well, brother, because it's like, because even with me, like for example, when I like transitioned to stop eating flesh and dairy, I remember, man, I was like, that initial angry vegan that, oh, you're all evil and this and that, and I'm like, but even that, like as a vegan, you like transform and your attitude changes, and you got to learn not to judge people. And because at the end of the day, I can sit here and start calling out names and stuff, but I did it for 30 years of my life as well. So I've got to remember that I was once in their position. So we have to show some sort of what's the word? Empathy.
Empathy, compassion.
Yeah, like, do you get what I mean? It's like
100%. 100%.
It is really like tough. Like I find it like as time goes on, I find it even weirder and weirder and weirder that we consume these stuff. Like the other day, I came across a video on YouTube, and it was like in China, and this guy just had loads of pigs' heads, and he was just frightened. And I was watching it, and I thought to myself, how? Like how or why or
how have we got to this? How have we become?
Yeah, it's just
like, now we're allowing that
brainwashing, like you said, for the program from the beginning has been so deep. Like literally, it's like like my Saturn return was like literally I got slapped out of a dream. That's how I would kind of explain it, because I jumped from like the everyday world of how most people live to then now I'm not eating meat and I'm, these other things, and like, but then like the dangerous thing with that is like sometimes it's good to divide, not necessarily divide yourself from other people, but be around good-minded people and people with a high vibration. But at the same time, I feel that you got to learn the balance of not trying to be like narcissistic or think that you're better than others. Do you get what I mean? It's hard to try and find that balance, because there's days where now I still like, I'll see something online, and my inner passion and rage about what's going on wants to like lash out.
Mm.
And there's the other side of me that says, no, relax.
Mm.
You're just reacting, like, so calm down. So at the end of the day, the way I see it is, you might think you're battling against other people or evil people, but the good and evil is just in yourself, and you have to just try and come to that
Yeah,
central point and balance it out,
yeah.
rather
I
than
mean,
lashing out at other people and finding
yeah.
like,
And there is a fine balance, because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing that goes on as well, And so the more we can do, obviously, is the better.
yeah,
But on a level, yeah, I might come out with a few things here and there, but I know me, and I know
yeah,
deep down, I don't forget where I've come from. I don't forget, once you've cleared a lot of your, I'm going to say, more of your potential issues, imprinting, you know, so I have so much for my mum, love for my mum. She's passed, and two sisters who have passed, and
yeah,
even my sister alive. And my brothers, regardless, whatever story anyone wants to hang on to, it's immaterial,
yeah,
And if I hang on to anything, then literally fool me. I will be fool me.
yeah, yeah,
He says, "Come on, Pete." So, and that's the old Pete. That's the survival, in fight or flight
yeah,
Pete. Had to survive, youngest of six, and all of us having to say survive a certain scenario, environment, life that we all had, So still, I'm going to identify that as the old me, you
yeah,
know, because if I reiterate to me, Pete, it's just like, well, I'm identifying with that,
yeah,
to ignore that, but to know that, and to know, unfortunately, I didn't have certain awareness, certain education, certain people around me. Generally, we were all thinking very similar, eating very similar, and all kind of running the gauntlet in where we were, if you get what I mean.
yeah,
So there does come a point though where so if we don't stand for something, we fall for anything.
exactly,
So
yeah,
there's a point. It's just like I've been on this food journey 18 years now, and 17 years of that taking it to festivals. Because what I realized in a year and a half of doing the food, 2 years into Jin Shin, and a year and a half doing the changing my food, cleaning up my act, was, wow, us as a human species, this is 18 years ago, we are all in a real bad state,
yep,
and I only got to see that by clearing up some of my state that I was in, and so then sort of a strong message: get out and share what you've been doing. A year and a half with the foods, like I was flying on top of a mountain. It's like sending a monk down to the city. Go on now, you go and take that to the city. I'm like, really? Oh my, and really see your mirrors. It's all very well being up on the mountain. I'm not going to knock that, because there's many things in terms of on the astral level and the meditation. However, for me, why was I born in Croydon? Why was I born in South London? Why was I born mixed race as well? Or why did I choose that? I get presented with these things. Why did I choose the lineage of my mum, the lineage of my dad? And it's not I'm looking for answers, and it's not I get this from books. It's dropping in. You get lots of answers, So, and then, where you could say, yeah, well, who's answering, who's observing? There's all this interesting stuff. But the more you work on yourself, the more you get more clarity. And so, yeah, so I was on the food journey, clearing one thing after another. Why people stop certain practices, whether it's yoga, qigong, the food especially, is because if they had the insight, they would see something's come up. Oh, I don't do that anymore. Oh, that didn't work for me anymore. And it's just like, because I did have that other, let's just say, approach and learning in my teens, I got to see so at least you can choose why, rather than being in ignorant and just blame this person, blame that.
Yeah,
Blame
exactly. That's what I mean. The blaming thing. The only person you can blame is yourself at the end of the day.
This is it. Yeah. But if this was all taught by our education at schools, known by our parents and friends, which, like, if you're acting triggered and strange, they just look at you like, you would be the odd one, But unfortunately, you stay grounded and centered and calm and wise, then you would be the odd one, because everyone's in this fight or flight. And then they feel uncomfortable because you're bringing up their stuff, because, you're vibrating at a higher vibration. And then, behold, what happens? They're all on your case,
Yeah.
Knowingly or not.
Either way.
Say that again?
I said you can't win either way.
Well, the thing is, going back to what I realized of being on it a year and a half, it's like, whoa, we are in a bad state. And, around festivals, everyone talks about brother, sister, and it's a bit flippantly thrown around the place. But in that moment, I get 10th of a second kind of boom, images, and it's like the different path lives, and I really got the essence, the download of how much we truly are in a state, and they are all my brothers and sisters, truly, not just throwing that word around,
Yeah, no, it's true, because at the end of the day, like, we're all connected, because at the end of the day, we all breathe we're all connected to that one consciousness, but it's just being expressed through us differently, like in different vehicles. Do you get what I mean? And having different experiences.
Massively, and then the old me, probably the old you, would watch this now and be probably like, what are they on about, man?
Exactly. That's another such an interesting thing, brother. Like,
no, I don't. I probably even got mates who might even watch this from years ago. Like, what is Pete doing? What is he on?
Yeah.
It's like, man, if they only really knew. But the repetition of the ritual that we do every day, so it gets reinforced. So that identity of the old John, Simon, Paul, Russell, whoever it is, gets reinforced. So on a level, we can really be grateful for certain relationships that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Certain so-called traumatic experiences. I can honestly put my hand on my heart and say, wow, I am so grateful for them, and some of them traumatic, but however, coming through that, clearing it, it's just energy blockages, energy, everything comes down to energy, you know. So we, it's like the river, the meridian lines, you clear that. Man-made belief, or the conception of pain and good and bad, it's just the imprinting. So once you clear that in your cellular body, more so than just doing it in the mind, because I've come across so many people just doing it in their mind, and then it's a contradiction of what they're doing in their life. So really, when you really do the work, then you really get it. So I don't want to go off too much, but we're supposed to be going on the food. So
that's right, brother. It's at the end of the day, everything's connected. So
it is. I'm just trying to keep, if we can keep an audience as well. I don't want to make it too, too I'm not saying it's uninteresting. I think it's very interesting. So, I was in a toxic car trade, classic car welder, painter. So for 20 odd years of my life, from the age of 16, I had 18 amalgam in my mouth, like mixed mercury fillings, you know, 2 gold caps on, 2 of them, but realized there's mercury amalgam underneath. So I had 18 by the time I was 16, and I had them for another 28 years of my life. And then I was working in the car trade, so I had heavy loads of toxicity,
Yeah.
you know. So there was times I could hardly string a sentence together. Even, I even catch myself now, still cleansing. So I could see why I was shown that it would be gone if I didn't really shift and change. Like you saying at 30, you shifted and changed massively.
Yeah.
I'd been 20, 30 years, contaminating myself even more and eating junky vegetarian,
Yeah, same, brother. Like, that's what I mean. It's just like, it's weird, like, because you see, like, obviously I'm doing a show with you now, right? But like back in the day when I was like doing like my channel and that, I just used to do shows and shows and shows and like talk about it all. But then I've gotten to this stage now where, you know what, I don't want to talk about things. I need to start doing them.
Yeah.
I think that's the like part that I've come to now. After 10 years of going down the rabbit hole and talking about all these deep stuff and health things, I'm thinking, yeah, it's all good talking about it, but
no, got to walk the talk, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point where I feel like now I'm at, and I want to like, and I'm starting to like make that transition, because it's all good, like saying, oh yeah, I'm vegan and this and that and that and this, but like obviously my main initial reason for becoming vegan wasn't for health, but why not do both?
Yeah.
You get what I mean? If you can be vegan and be healthy, it's even better.
Yeah, and in terms of
because like yeah, it happened for me mainly in like 2024. Basically, I was basically in 2022, my mum passed away. And then after all that, I got a job in like, I was a chef in a vegan restaurant. So I've always been into cooking. So my last few jobs have been like working in vegan restaurants.
Nice.
But which was cool because I feel like I was doing something that I had some sort of passion for, and it's for a good cause, But then like I was like doing it, but I was working like ridiculous hours, like 60 hours a week, and
wow.
I just got like blown out, and I left kind of my job and whatever. So obviously, because I'd worked for quite a lot, I managed to like save a bit of money. So my friend Lee, he has a place in Portugal in the mountains.
Nice.
So I went out there for 2 weeks and lived the, how can you say, the off-grid life, would you call it, I guess. I got a taste of it and eating more pure and more raw, and I loved it. It was amazing. And ever since I've went there and I've come back here, I have incorporated it, but I still slip up. I'm not going to lie, like I've done like the longest fast I've done like a fruit for 1 week.
Brilliant.
I've made it a habit now. Like even if I don't do it the whole week, I at least have to do it 2 or 3 days a week.
Which is amazing.
Yeah, and that's the stage I'm at the moment. But like again, it's not a sprint. I know it's a marathon, and it takes time for us to like.
It does, and then the environment you're in. If you're up in the mountains, you got like a potential closer to blue zone, clean air.
Yeah.
Natural springs, I'm sure, nearby, and the foods. We as we've gone to a few different countries, we are getting blown away by the foods. Because imagine being on my partner's probably about 8-9 years now, 8 years or 9 on this journey as well. But so for me, your body gets so you can really sense the food you're putting in your mouth.
Brother, when I'm not eating, it feels like I'm meditating for the whole day. It's amazing.
Isn't it?
That's why I know it works.
This is
But like, and like, it's weird. Like, I kind of like slap myself because I feel like I contradict myself because I know better, but I know you're saying don't be too hard on yourself, but it's like I kind of get this frustration with me. It's because like I know better. I've done it. I've felt how it is not eating cooked food, but yeah, I still kind of after a particular time I'll start feeling a bit shitty, and then I'll have my first meal, and then it will go. You get what I mean? But like the first thing I did was when I came back from Portugal in 2024, I did a watermelon fast for 4 days. And that's the only thing I've done out of all the fasts I've done and all the like the detox things I've done. That's the only thing I've done that I actually released something, and like I've released some mucoid plaque from doing a watermelon fast.
Nice.
Yeah. So like when I did that, I was like, oh wow, like it kind of gave me a bit of inspiration to like carry it on and that. And yeah, I mean like about a month ago, like I said, I've done like a week of this, and I felt really good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, since the Taurus season's kicked in, I've been a bit all over the place. I don't know if it's because of my moon placement being in Taurus. I've kind of been a bit here and there with it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much emotional layers to it.
Yeah,
you know,
there is
the environment you're in. You know, also the environment. You know, you're probably more in a 5G scenario. So, you know, sometimes, you know, if I put myself in your situation, I would probably just be doing more heavier within the raw. You know, going back, especially when my partner was pregnant with our first child, we were getting so into quiches, you know, but raw quiches, but it was, you know, lightly dehydrated an hour or two.
Yeah.
And, but we was having quiches nearly every evening. You know, it was through the winter time as well. So for us, that's indulging. That's us, you know, a comfort food.
Yeah.
But we would make sure through the day we might be doing about potentially a liter of juice, you know, apples, and go, you know, foraging in the gardens, dandelion, cleaver, put celery with it, but and you know, plantain at times and milk thistle. So we would, and even the wild grass, we would be putting that in there and mixing.
Yeah, I've used milk thistle like the drops of it. Like
I mean, you know, if you got some good sort of woods or something nearby off the beaten track, you can find some beautiful stuff. I mean, I was going to say it's the time now. Watermelons is in season, in England, so you can get some good watermelon. But you know, being on the journey, I remember I was doing I actually did a 120-day juice fast a few years ago, but I remember I was 30 or 40 days in, and someone who gave up alcohol and gave up smoking and just done a few days, and it's like she's comparing. I'm like, wow, you know what you have done is far more than me. I've been at this so long, you know, but what you have done is miraculous. So well done. So, you know, we shouldn't compare. It's not really wise to compare. You know, maybe if we want to healthy compare to ourselves on, but I mean, we be accountable for.
I mean, everyone's always their worst self. You're always most critical about yourself, aren't you? That's just, I think, the way humans are.
The more sensitive ones are,
So like, I guess, you know, but it's just, again, like talking about, like you were saying about quiches and that. I was looking at some of your raw gourmet stuff. Wow, brother, man! Like, I got to congratulate you. Like, I saw the one you did of the carrot cake, and I showed it to my brother, and he was like, "Wow, that actually looks like a real carrot cake." That's
Oh,
so cool. And is that um just for the people watching? Because obviously, I know you've got your Simply Rawgeous website, and
that's
also
it.
I follow you on Instagram and YouTube. But I'm going to put all these in the description
Yeah,
anyway. As
beautiful.
we're
Yeah.
here talking about it, just let people know your main social media link so they can check out your
Yeah,
stuff.
well, we have an Instagram, so it's Simply Rawgeous, and Facebook, Simply Rawgeous, a website which is just getting updated,
Yeah,
and we do have a YouTube channel. So even and then I do this channel called The Living Field,
yeah,
which I've only been doing it maybe maybe 4 or 5 months now, and then because it's an extension of me doing festivals, me getting it out there. It's like, okay, let's bring another stage. So we can bring, like you are, bringing people
yeah,
on onto the stage. And so people can, let's just get more educated, have more information if they
yeah,
choose. And so they're the main avenues we do. I've done a few of our own personal festivals over the last 3 to 4 years, Simply Rogers. Small turnout, and
Was you
generally
in Ladbroke Grove last? Was it last year you was in Ladbroke
we
Grove?
we we supported Ladbroke Grove, yes,
Yeah, because I
because
saw that, and my aim was to come, but I didn't get round to it.
yeah, that was beautiful. So
Yeah,
they have a vegan night once a month.
yeah,
It's called, what's it called? Yeah, but yeah, Vegan Nights Portobello. Check it
yeah,
out. Really worth going. So we wanted to support that. Everything has cost us. Our events has cost us. 17 years doing the festivals. It was me on a shoestring doing it. And then maybe the last 3 years, we got just about enough to survive. A wage. So it was never about. That's the beautiful thing. It was never about the money. You know, yes, needed to sustain doing it. So sometimes the prices have to go up, but they
yeah,
even were never more than vegan. The vegan food at festivals, they're never more than them. And there's probably 3 times as much labor and 3 times as much cost. So we one time in the first 4 years, a friend, more older lady, well into her nutrition, was working with me, and she said, "Pete, you got to change these prices. It's look, just shush. Let's just get on with it." She goes, "Right, I'm going to sit down with you at the end, and we're going to go through that." At the time, they were £5.50. You'd have a big plate. So I wanted to give what I would have, what I would want. So I'd be giving big plates out. And we sat down and worked out that the meal, just ingredients, was £5.
yeah.
And people might see money coming in, but they don't realize how much. It might cost a few grand
Yeah, of
just
course.
to take the event there. So we put it up to maybe £2 or £3 more. And then you get some people moaning about that. But what people don't realize, they had Simply Rogers at certain festivals. They had such a treat. So many, touched thousands of people. And we had maybe 8 to 15 people sharing, volunteering. So they had the opportunity to just see how quick things would be done, the foods. Me and my partner look back, if we had that, we would be jumping at it, to learn. And then people learn how quick I can do them, so quick and easy. Really, it's no bragging. It's just you can make it really easy and quick. I could many different sauces. There's 4 minutes. Ice creams 5, 6 minutes. You can just really knock them up quick.
Yeah,
Um, at festivals, and lasagnas, pizzas, falafel, burgers, raw curries, chocolate talk, lemon, they call cheesecake, but lemon cake, banoffee pies. So I love my food, like you. I love my food. So I'm like, right, how can I copy that? So that's why it got very gourmet, you
yeah,
know, because I meet lots of people. It's like, oh yeah, I'm not messing around with that. I'm just going to go straight to the fruit back then. And then I meet them a year later, and they're kind of hiding or guilty because they've gone back. Because it's wise to take the journey. you know, if it's vegetarian to vegan, you know, to fruit, whatever, you know. But even though mine was straight from pescatarian into raw vegan, you know, and I didn't
Oh
look
wow!
back.
So you didn't even go like
No,
the
didn't flip flop.
vegan thing. You
No,
just went straight there. Even better.
straight in there. And
Even
then,
better.
you know, so there's a fine line with like, well, you got to take it easy and all this. And so I didn't. And when I look back at what I was having in my literally diet, was, you know, I love tea. You know, so I'd have about 3 or 4 teas a day, and I'd have 3 processed white sugars in each tea, and
Yeah.
then I would be cheesy pasta, you know, and pizzas, and I'd be priding myself on getting these. You probably know, like the happy eater, you know. God knows what's in them. In them, you know, there's like 50 ingredients where I can do a pizza with 4 or 5 ingredients. What are we putting in our bodies, you know? So it's no wonder majority of us are having ill health, having so many stories, and you
Yeah.
know the younger generation are having more stories because the adults aren't getting their act together, you know. So you know we're bringing in more unhealthy younger generations. There is hope, and we can shift it and change the
Yeah,
more.
man. I mean, like, definitely. I feel like even like just in general, I'm not saying like we've still got a long way to go collectively as a consciousness for us to move forward, but I do feel like things are changing slowly. You know,
Yeah,
people are more open to different ideas or alternative ways of seeing things because, like, and like, because I feel like a lot of people, like for example, back in the day, like they might have wanted to look into these stuff but didn't want to seem weird to their friends or to their family, so it might have stopped them from taking that jump to do something like
massive.
to
Imagine
change
me.
like
Yeah,
drastically. I remember even like when I stopped eating meat and that, like I like a few times I had a few arguments with my mum and that because she kind of couldn't accept that I wasn't eating meat anymore and things like that, and we'd get into arguments and stuff like that, you know. But then,
well, it brings up yeah, you're breaking a pattern. So,
yeah,
you know,
it's
it's
just
be
like,
quite
well, people think
imprinted
you've
into
gone
your mind.
weird, you know. People
Yeah,
like, and that's the thing that like people don't, because people have a certain perception of who you are, and they don't want that to change because then it's
yeah.
going to change for them as well.
But you know, on another level, you are choosing to be less sedating because
Yeah,
heavier foods, the more sedative you are, you know. So you're not feeding a story. So let's just quickly go to a couple of things there. You mentioned, so when I was 17 learning the astrology, there I was with my mates. I even remember him now, even if he manages to watch this, my mate Russ doing his chart. I'll be doing my mate's charts, you know. And I even remember, sometimes I forget people's name, but I remember the chart. He had a sun moon conjunction in Taurus, you know.
yeah,
And then there was other things. So I'll be sharing, you know, all the bits of new information I will be having and with family and friends. And
yeah,
it blew me away once I understood the logistics on the synchronicity, how it worked in life. And I was introduced to astrology with this more shadow work psychology, you know, um, introduction, you know, but immersed in living in weekend strength never ends, I'm going to call it, groups towards the end of it. So, you know, once again, it wasn't learning the theory, it was immersing myself, you know, at 17 and 10, 20 other people, you know, and then going trauma coming up, going through stuff. So, you know, and so there's different ways you can approach it. But what I realized on my whole journey, I'm going to say why I could not sustain it was because I didn't have the food awareness. In these groups at the time, there was an ethos about vegetarian, but for me, I did not have the food awareness or the inner understanding that I have now at all. So and a protocol that I could really discipline myself, with the Jin Shin Jitsu. It doesn't have to be that. So I had the two things. So to me, that was like doing yoga, so I'm doing two practices without even thinking. So there's two things that are supporting me. Every mouthful is supporting life, and every flow is supporting movement, supporting life. So, like the kid, 1 minute it might be, or the child, 1 minute it might be end of the world crying, and then the next minute it's just like happy bouncing around. So on a level, to walk through the gates of heaven, we have to become childlike. So
Yeah, definitely. I totally.
but that can be here now. We don't have to wait. Everyone waiting for return of Christ or whatever it is. Christ consciousness,
Exactly.
Our Christ consciousness. And then and the heaven can be here now. We've spoon fed with all these theories and all these different information. Honestly, you do the work, you get your own answers, and you really, your body intelligence wakes up, going back to again, yeah. So I didn't come out a lot with the astrology and what I was doing back at the time, but people knew about it, and I would share it. And if certain people get to see this now, I'm sure some people will. But it's all very well. It was me. I used to do the same thing. I would take the mick. I was always a nice guy. I'm going to say, far as I'm concerned, it might be a few people say, yeah, what about this? What about that? But anyway, my character was very unselfish. I had to learn selfishness. Youngest of six as well. So I suppose I had to find me. So I've got 5 other archetypes imprinting on me, as well as my mum, and as well as messy stepdad. So I had so much clearing to do.
Yeah.
So hence, I'm going to say again, separate myself from the old Pete, because hey, I'm back. Who's back? More my soul, spirit is back.
Yeah. Your true essence.
This is it. Not weighed down by the just stagnant energy, getting bitter, twisted. And especially our generation, and even more generation older than us, we have so much to share. And I'm a living proof that you can move through your crap. So you older generation, get it together, man. But you don't have to. And that's fine. But because we can really have a massive effect on the younger generation. There's some beautiful younger generation coming out with so much amazing stuff. Still to a degree though, we got to be careful in terms of how far down are our roots going. The thing is, we can look great, we can reiterate, regurgitate. It's really easy. My daughter at 3, 4, wow, she could reiterate so much stuff, and then we slowed it down because she's getting praise for it. So she loses, then they're lost. They just become this doing things for praise. So we can all do that. How strong are our roots? How experienced are we? Can we stand in a storm, and not run? Can we, and then we have to look back on our lives, and actually I get shown, oh well, yeah, I did then, oh maybe I didn't then, but I can so I think and there's so much false information. People might learn about parasites, learn about this and parasite cleanses, this and that, and do one over a few weekends or even breath work for a year or two, and then they're telling me about, hey Pete, try this, and they don't realize I learned breath work 45 years ago. They need to brag about it. And I learned astrology then, and then it's just like parasite cleanse. My first one was 2012. Epic, my hair stood on end when I saw what was coming out. So there's a lot I have in terms of experience and putting together and sharing, and this is giving me a platform to reel off as I am. But what I realized, 17 years on serving festivals and serving people, helping people, sharing as I did, 2 people, 10 days, I would be up there doing close to a Gerson therapy with them, helping them, supporting them on their journey, and many, many other things, groups, joining me in my ritual in England that every rising, me and my partner at 6 a.m., ice bath saunas, ice bath saunas, ice bath saunas, you know, and so they would come for 3 or 4 months and join me on that ritual. So there's been a lot of sharing, you know, whether people took it for granted or not, it doesn't really matter. You know, my thing is, you know, keep working on yourself. People get what they need to get. So we got to, you know, I use the word careful. There's so much information out there, and people, I would say, really need to be more holistic, more well experienced to be able to just, you know, you throw different things at me and it's like, oh yeah, I can give you something back that has depth, as opposed to, you know, quickly reciting what someone else has said.
Okay.
Even though there might be some bits I might be doing that. So the food journey was epic. For me, I look back in retrospect, the food did it for me, and the discipline, you know, the food and Jinshin. And also I had 3 members, well, 2 members had passed away at the time, you know, and so lost my eldest sister when she was about 35, I was 28. So that was epic, you know, and I could say I didn't realize how much that affected me until I revisited it many years ago in doing my own breath work on myself. So, and then realizing, you know, that was down to supposedly cancer. But on a level, you know, it's not just the food. If we've got unresolved trauma, then that affects how we are every day, you know. So we may chase these dreams, chase these ideas, and we like you burning out 60 hours a week to chase a dream. Well, where's that dream come from? So really, we're running away from ourselves. Ultimately, running away. We've been spoon fed. We've been spoon fed these dreams, and really, they're just carrots. You know, because we don't have more wiser people or elder people, elders around us to sense their field. It's more about sensing, you know, rather than telling someone, you know. It's like, you know, monkeys see, monkey do. That's what we do when we're children. We are energy bodies. We just copy, you know, so that's such a heavy imprinting. We do not realize it's so big. But, you know, I could go on more about that, and I'll lose people because that's massive, you know, if we really want to shift, you know. And then so the food was epic, you know, and I did do the transition straight in to raw vegan, and the first few strengths, I'm going to call them, didn't have a clue. My main chunk was avocado with salad, and I'm researching, learning more. I'm making a sauce to go in the avocado, and then coming across these powders. But I wish I'd known about or took notice about parasite cleanses back then, because to me, there's different data out there. To me, I would have done it so much earlier, because you know, who are you feeding? You can be buying all the best foods. If you get the right foods and herbs, they can naturally slowly cleanse. However, who are you feeding? You know, you're feeding your homies, man. Your homies that have been with you for whatever period of the time, you know. And then, you know, so it's just like until you get them out, you know, it's you aren't really getting the real benefit of the nutrients that you're putting in your body, as well as many things that your lining and your intestines clogged. So, you know, like a stocking, nothing's coming through, you know, it's going in, something else is feeding on it, you're getting a bit, and it's coming out the backside, you know. So, you know, so the food was a big one for me. And so I would have cravings on my early few months of my raw vegan journey. So I'd do my Jinshin. You know, you can meditate, etc. Find something that you can go a bit deeper to get witness, like the trigger. Bang, there I am, 7 in a trauma. Boom, wow, forgot about. There I am re-experiencing this trauma. So what did that tell me? I had them for years, revisiting old trauma, whether it's with my brothers, with my sister, with bullies at school, whatever it may have been, stepdads. It was just, whoa, all things we bury. And so what did that tell me? Our food, by choice, has got us to survive to that level, but they are sedating us. So they're mild sedatives. So they're a mild state of like a pharmaceutical, and especially these days, and especially for a long time with what goes into the foods, just the processed sugar, the salt, and the pizza, the cheese. And when you think about the wheat, it's just we're putting bombs, nuclear bombs in our body daily. We don't even realize it. We think that's our normal state, But again, unfortunately, there's not people around to really take people through this journey, or it costs a lot of money, capitalized in that respect, because, you can see systematically the children have been trying to be taken out. The elders have been taken out. So, no wonder we, are quite lost. But the food is big.
Yeah, because with me, brother, like now, I've got to the point now where it's like I'm actually like, it's like I thought, because obviously I went from just the normal thing to obviously now I've been vegan 10 years, cool, or whatever, which is good. But then now it's like I've come to that next stage where I'm thinking it's not even like, it's like, because I know better, it's like I even feel like even when I'm eating a normal meal, and it might even not even be like that bad, for example, it might be even like a Whole Foods vegan meal, for example. But then I think, oh wow, it's just like, I don't know, I feel like I'm at that point where it's just
maybe at a plateau.
yeah, it's like, cool, I've done the vegan thing, but now I need to take it to the next.
Yeah. I never would have known. My first fast was a few years into my raw, maybe 3 years in. I did a pure green juice fast. The main basis of that was, in terms of liquid, was celery and cucumber. And then might be cabbage, spinach. But pure green, no apple, no ginger, etc.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. Every ache and pain, that little ache and pain in my body had just disappeared in 4 days. And when you talk about just not eating for a day, you're in that meditative space. It's been epic, and always, generally around the third day, it can be challenging. And
that's usually for me.
Yeah.
Like you said, the third day, that's when it starts.
Yeah, what I've witnessed is that, them critters in you are giving it all on the third day.
Of course.
They're giving it all, man. So you really recommend get past the third, fourth day, because they want to be fed. They don't want to be fed the junk food you are on, man. They want to be, and then they give out chemicals. I've heard so many interesting things, and I can sense that. And even in terms of infiltrating your thoughts, 100%, 100%. And again, people may think we're wacky, but what I would say to certain people, rather than judge and let's just say criticize, look around you, look at potentially your brother has gone, your sister has gone, your mother has gone, and younger generations have gone. Look at that, and honestly start putting two and two together. So rather than criticize and joke and potentially take the mick out of vegans, and energetically see where energy bodies manifests on the energy body first. So if we put in death and trauma in our body, the impact that it has on our body, especially when you do the clearing, do the cleaning, it's massive, and the massive impact that we're doing on a global scale, massive genocide going on, in terms of the animals. And we talk about, recognizing many years ago that, hey, yeah, you're all my brothers and sisters. But then as time has gone on, wow, all the other sentient beings are all part of us, and it's horrific that we are not addressed in that, and we take the mick, and let's just say glamorize my big burger. This year I'm gonna go
It's
down.
such an interesting point you're bringing up, brother, because this is the thing that I've kind of been not angry or like a bit like I've been thinking about a lot lately. Is like, for example, like there's a lot of atrocities with war and stuff like around our earth, unfortunately, whether it's Palestine or wherever it is, Iraq, Afghanistan, whatever it is, and it's like it's all over. Like, and ever since I can remember as a kid, like they say, oh, there's World War One and World War Two. I've always remembered wars ever since I was a kid. Like, I don't necessarily see it as World War One it's just I've always known there to be war.
Yeah, they're glamorized as well, aren't they, in the movies as well?
But what I'm trying to say is like I see a lot of posts of like people saying, oh, like protesting for Palestine, for example, which is good. I'm not having a go here. I'm just saying, like, it's all good that we're doing these things and it shows that we care. But at the same time, most of us are still we're actually collectively as a consciousness, as a human race, we're to blame for all this stuff because we're actually helping it happen by supporting the meat industry or the dairy industry and ingesting these things. Because how can we have peace, like you're saying, if we're full of toxins and like, because at the end of the day, whatever we put inside, it's like projected back out. How you were saying earlier, like we're projectors, So
and then
inducing bad, like negative energy, we're going to be putting out negative energy. So,
like the beacons of light. And what are we animating? And if we're not animating light and not being self-accountable, then we are animating the shadow, all this war and grief, because we're inside at war. You're repeatedly putting in death, war, and even take it to another level. Just even we're all say God's children, etc. And so beautiful that we're not harming the animals, but still, you might go to the gate. It's like thinking you're cool because you're being vegetarian or raw vegan and etc. Now, you might go to the gate thinking you're going to be accepted in, but it's just like, well, even in the raw vegan, you can abuse your body, So it's just like, but you still didn't really get it. You're still abusing. So beautiful that you didn't abuse, your fellow sentient beings. 100% beautiful. Please, everyone, get off that one, But then we got to move on to the next step. Get back to that childlike aspect of ourselves. How is that? How do we get back to that? The more we go back and revisit the times that is in terms of like electric shocks, the shocks that we have had that has shut us down. And then we can become back to that more childlike quality, not the spoiled child, not a narcissistic child, not an overperforming child, just
the innocence. The innocence of being young. I know, like, and honestly, that's so interesting that you brought up that, because I do feel like I've gone back to that a bit, like since my I've gone on my journey. You do naturally become more childlike once you start taking away certain things or not entertaining certain things, and then you come back to like who you are, not even like by your name, like I'm Mehmet. Well, I am Mehmet, but that's not really who I am. That's just a label of who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an updated version of Pete, really. Whatever. So, we can upgrade it, update it, whatever. Yeah. But in terms of the childlike. So what I realized on this journey, literally from 18 years ago, I was I was nurturing this child that was cocooned from about the age of 3. Years ago when I was 17, I revisited a pretty deep trauma at the age of 3. But I only did them for a year and a half. And I realized in retrospect, looking back, there's so many things I can look back now and see, how and why they unfolded. So I look back, and then the more, that's as far as I could go, whatever we want to say at that time. And then boom, head down, running away, like burying my head in the sand, because I didn't have the support around me, didn't have the awareness and the tools that I have now to go through the next layer of trauma, or another layer, because it's like shredding a skin, and then you shred a skin, and I meet people and it's like, oh, I've done it, shredded the skin, like, right, yeah, give me it all, bring it on, I never say that anymore. I do not say that, it's like, well, if you're going to bring it on, can you be gentle, please,
be careful what you wish for ultimately.
Oh, massively, because and I watch people, pumping out these certain fasts and parasite cleanse, and they're banging them out there. But we need to make sure our roots are strong, and this is just a compassionate guy, just expressing, because who's really run the gauntlet, really gone through the mill,
Yeah, that's why I wanted to have you on, because I know you've been doing it for a long time. Do you get what I mean? And it's good to speak to someone with experience,
And it was great having the early groups that I did, held me in massive great stead, should I say, through my life. I didn't realize, and when I chose to slow down and chose to really integrate 18, 19 years ago, then that's what that meant when I was 17.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
you have these epiphanies later on.
It's just like shoving your food down, and you're getting on shoving your food down, but you're not appreciating loving the food. You're not going slow. You're not digesting it. So through life, we can just go through life without digesting, really being slow. So, and then we haven't really learned anything, And if we have learned anything, I would say, looking back, a lot of it was, I won't say a waste of time, but it is wasting time to stay connected. I could have still done all the same things connected. The one thing is to stay connected. There was some book where, I don't know, what comes to mind is like, oh God, you left me. And then God's saying, oh no, you look down and he sees God's footprints is always with him. So we always have a spirit. We all have, our spirit is always with us. We just repressed it, suppressed it. So going back to that child. So I was re-nurturing that child. So we needed, because no one else is going to do it. So I'm for sure going to have all these, as most, going to have all these little shocks and traumas that have kind of created the triggers, created the I call it flip-flop, going back and forth, and so, you could do many things. You could, in the evening before you go to bed, have a journal, write down, simply, why am I keep doing this? Why am I keep doing that? And then, you can get the answers in the dreams. Don't come straight away, but it does come. So, I mean that,
what I do, brother, which is a bit like, like, for example, like sometimes, like, online we post things like to kind of, like, maybe people say, oh, look, I've done this today, or I've done that today, or I've done this fast today. Like, the way I kind of look at it as posting, it's not like me, like, bragging. I do it kind of, it's like to remind myself. So when I am online and I see it, it's like almost a teacher to, like, kind of keep me in check. So, like, if I am scrolling through my page and I see, oh shit, look, that's when I done that fast, it's like a little reminder for me.
Yeah, like a journal.
Keep me in check. So that's kind of the way I do it. But yeah,
I mean, there's many things about being on the internet and all that. I mean, when I first had the opportunity, someone said, Pete, you got to get your food out on Instagram. It's like, what? what's Instagram? I didn't know this was about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way I'm going on that. And then in my more meditation, it's just like, well, Pete, you do the festivals. Why are you doing that? What was that reason for? It wasn't wasn't I have a desire. It was like, well, just share, be a humane person, humble
Yeah.
person, share what you've learned, especially if it has benefited you, us as a human being. And
Exactly.
so I lost my thread there. My daughter's trying to pull me away. So, but yeah, so from that perspective of sharing, just coming back to a nice person, that we do have to revisit and reparent the child that was never authentically
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
nurtured. You know, our parents don't know love. So we have to find it. So let's just say reincarnated for that's our job. That's our job. And then we find, we have blood brothers and sisters, but we have spiritual brothers and sisters.
Yeah, I've definitely found that out.
Yeah. And the more
Like
we put
last
out,
10 years, like don't take me wrong, I get on well with like all my family. I'm like you, brother. I'm not an argumentative or forceful person. I just want to, I'll try to do my best to get on with everyone. But like you say, there's certain people that you connect with, like spiritually. Like you say, you have your blood family, and then you also have your spiritual family. It's just like some people you connect with on a vibe, and then other people's you just happen to be born into the same family. So
and it's so beautiful being, there's not many, but being around people who are really doing the work and are accountable.
yeah,
We'll have to say I have not found many, but that's why I'm venturing out a bit more. And what does that mean? Just like, because
ultimately, I think that means you can only rely on yourself.
ultimately, but we can come up with many things. What about this, Pete? What about that, Pete? But it's just doing the work on yourself, and you really have to go to venture deeper. I love it when I meet someone. I can go really deep with the traumas that I've experienced, and they can really
Yeah,
share their experience. And there's not a wobble. We're on that level of, yeah, wow, like we're our true spirits meeting and talking about, to a degree, whether we chose it or not. I'm not. It's a beautiful theory. Whether we did or not, it doesn't matter where I am at now, how certain things may be affecting me. It's like affecting your peace, putting you out of ease. So you work with them things, and then you get back to a more stability. But people can be so far gone that, someone sort of said, was it the 2,000-yard look? And there was another thing someone said anyway. Just glazed eyes, because it's what we're talking about here is just too much, too deep. And then we come out with these cliches to judge again and mock. I've been there, and in my ignorance. But again, I bring it back to look around. It's not normal for your members to be having cancer, be having thyroid issues, be having, in certain countries, diabetes, and having legs taken off, arms taken off. It's, guys, that is not normal. I always knew this is weird. This is, what do you mean? And we just, oh, they died of cancer. What do you mean they just died of cancer? We just accept these things, And I even saw how, going back 40 odd years ago, how that was slowly integrated into the media, and it's everywhere. So again, we can talk about us being used in terms of what we are, the creators. We are part of co-creating, manifesting all this, so we can shift it, and by not acquiescing to a lot of the nonsense and finding protocols, finding tools to get back to a true more essence of ourselves, to be, use the word righteous in a positive way, to be a good example for other people, for the children and whoever, So, So I'm talking to my past self. If I'm criticizing, if I'm mocking, if I'm judging, you know, it's not normal for your brothers and sisters and relatives to be passing away early. It's not normal. Trust me, it's not normal. It doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to be, let's just say, chained to like pharmaceutical, to the hospitals.
Yeah.
We educate, like Yamchi was saying, become your own doctor. We become our own doctor. So for me, we did touch on the food. The food, it was massive for me. 18 years raw vegan, haven't cooked any food in that time. Tried a few mouthfuls here and there to just imitate certain flavors and textures. And what I realized, there's a chemical release that happens with cooked food, and I think the more cooked you do, the more your body treats it as, an alien, more carcinogenic. So, we just add more fruits in. Yeah, take it slowly. Add more fruits, good fruits, salads. And then you slowly wake up. And then that feeling, it's like, wow, you're going faster. Can I drive this car? Whoa, we freak out. So we sedate again. So we recognize things are going to come up. Recognize in your immediate relationship, issues may come up. So when I was taking people from these ice bath and sauna trips, I had to share eventually, like, guys, your day is going to change. What do you mean? It's because they're shifting. It's another level of cleansing. So if we don't have that, we just debunk Pete, because it's it's the ice bath or whatever, the food is all bringing up stuff, or debunk you because I tried what he said, vegan, and it didn't work, or this all happened. But you blame the healing, because you're going through a detox.
Yeah, exactly. That's another thing that we do, like, generally, is like, for example, that you getting hungry or you not feeling good is actually God telling you, oh, look, it's working because you haven't been eating. Do you get what I mean?
Who are you? It's the old you want to get rid of.
What's that? Say that again, brother.
And then, who are you? It's the old you're trying to get rid of.
Exactly,
you know
yeah. Exactly. That's all it's like. That's like what goes back to what we say. Ultimately, you're just like at war with yourself, like not literally, like symbolically, but
we are internally. Imagine a car, you're putting along, but our vehicles, with what we put in our body, what it is having to deal with, our foot is full throttle on the car, generally 24/7. Even when you sleep, we might eat late or we had a big meal. So it's still working. So your foot's like that.
Yeah.
So you're never having a rest. So there is a war going on.
Yeah.
Constant stimulation inner. Never mind about the outer. So if we resolve the inner, working on ourselves, then there's no way we would partake in any of this nonsense and even feed in it. What's going on over there? What's going on there? What is that feeding? The actual dopamine hit, the loss of self by looking out all the time, and the addiction by
that
not
is
being
so true, brother. Because that's one thing I've. Obviously, I'm not going to lie. I'm not saying I don't go on Facebook and Instagram, because I do.
I do, because of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't get involved in arguments. I've literally got to that stage. I actually have got to the stage with Facebook where I actually don't like it anymore, because it's just full of so much negativity. And people arguing, oh, I'm right, no, oh, you're right, and I'm this and that. And
I think, especially on a few posted recently, I think there's a whole heaps of debates, I'm going to say, going on, which comes like, I've thrown in a few things, but again, people, we can argue till the cows come home, really.
Exactly.
And we can always find something to support our corner. But just to take it from, you don't have to take it from someone. I met younger generation, sustain something for a long time. I've sustained this for 18 years, and I meet people who've done it for so many years, gone back, it doesn't work. And it's like, look, guys, that's why I'm coming out. I've done this for 18 years. I know people done it for 24 years. I know people done it for 30 years, 40 years. So But all the time we sit back, you're getting people running around, running their mouth, saying they tried it for 3-4 months and they've gone back to meat, whatever, to justify, them really not having the awareness to really go deeper in themselves. So I look at you guys to go into your traumas, especially in the spiritual world, spiritual bypassing. We come up with all these different excuses, and then then we have the good people doing more good work, even just by not eating and partaking in the death and the dairy. That's people doing beautiful work. And then we can say, yeah, we all used to do that. Yeah, when we fell, fallen angel, when we fell, and then even if we did, why? So it doesn't mean you're going to still do it. We may have ate literally our own crap many years ago. You might find some. Which in India, there's certain sects that do that. Does that mean we're going to do that? But so the thing is, if you want to believe we may have done it, well, evolve. Why? You don't chop up your dog, chop up your cat, and or shove your hand right down its backside to inseminate it, and all this nonsense, and take away the baby. It's like. And I'm putting it out there a bit, but that. So the thing is, we can argue. I bring back my energy. If I catch myself getting caught up, I learned that from many years ago. Oh, Pete, come on, you know better than that. What's going on in me? Like you say, you can feel that angry and frustrated. What's going on in you when you see that? When I see that, I mean, it is horrific. How do we deal with that? So many people have, like Gary and many people, they're on the front line. So massive respect to many people. Ed, another guy, amazing guy, because they're seeing it all firsthand. How'd you deal with that? It's all very well. And personally, I've seen bits and heard bits.
Same, like
girls screaming for not knowing for days.
I can't really watch it for that long because, again, I get so angry. I just choose, like, you see, like all them Cowspiracy and all those documentaries. I've never actually sat down and watched any of them because I don't know. It's just I don't see it. Really. I know it's like I don't.
There's a fine line with that. I mean, we got to watch subconsciously. It's like subconscious picks up things, all the time. Whatever we watch, whatever environment we're in, it's assimilating that. So consciously,
I remember once, brother, I saw a video of it was in China of some guy. He put a dog. I don't even.
Anyway, don't go into detail, but
I'm not going to say actually.
Horrific things going on. And,
I remember. All I'm going to say about it is I literally felt like I wanted to jump in the screen and and again, this is so bad me saying this, but I'm just being honest with how I felt at the time. It's like I wanted to strangle the person that was doing it, but now obviously I would still get really upset. But it's just,
well, you know what? We got to be careful. I think we sort of say, we've changed and shifted and stuff. I mean, if you're going to look at that stuff, have processes, have tools, have, even if it's therapy to release that stuff. You don't want to get too caught up in that and go deeper in yourself. So you get your roots strong, so you can stand there and witness that. See the bigger picture and still do your part, but also we got to be careful, not be complacent, because if that was happening right in front of you right now, what would you do? I would potentially throttle the person. I would probably boot him around that room.
That's what I'm saying.
Real. Let's keep it real. It's your child in front of you. Be fluffy, and it's just like, well, there is a healthy protection,
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, you see, we've been talking about anger and trying not to get angry and whatever. It's all good, but I think there's right times. There's times do you get what I mean? To act upon it in the right time and in the right. Do you get what I mean?
For me, if we're more in the moment, if we can get more in the moment, we act in the moment rather than say, I would do this, I would do that.
Yeah,
I have an idea of potentially what I would do. I remember a conversation about 8 years ago. It's just like, well, I've got to the stage where I would like to think I would do that. Even though I'm saying I would do this and do this now, I would be in that moment, but it's when you're connected, it's more instinctual that you're going to protect your close and loved ones.
Yeah.
So, we don't have to be, whoa, Pete said this, or whoa. It's just like, well, then wake up, clear your system in life, so this is going on globally. And I don't think it's wise to keep watching it.
You know what? I didn't even purposely go to watch it. Someone posted it and it came up on my feed.
I've seen them as well. So we have to have a good way of filtering and processing things. So my Simply Rawgeous, which was about food, but it's holistic about me. And then some people won't go down that avenue. So the thing is, it's an aspect of me, the food and the astrology, the jinshin, animal lover. Didn't start that way. I'm not saying I was never an animal lover, but it didn't start coming from that. Even though I'd introduced from great vegetarian friends back in when I was 30, a Darren and a Dom, beautiful guys, who got me onto the more vegetarian. So, but the real animal awareness, I didn't even know about the horrificness in dairy until about 6 years ago. It's like, I kept, no way, it's not as bad as meat. No, and it's like, oh my gosh. So I don't want to bang on about that, but, people, come on, if you choose to really want to, I'm going to say evolve, but, please don't talk about love. If you're partaking in that, love and light, just drop it. It's just a massive, contradiction, So, and that's fine, you can judge me for saying that, but it just doesn't make sense. We've got things so 180. It's ridiculous. And the thing is, so you don't become very popular, and even in vegan, vegetarian, raw vegan, if you're going a bit more deeper, you still don't become very popular because there's cliquiness in it all. It can be all very cliquey because it's like, well, I'm not just a raw vegan, I chose that, and it's
ultimately all these things are labels anyway. You get what I mean? But
some people don't want to associate themselves with vegan and plant-based. Well, I'm going to still say what it is, but I'm not that. I'm much more than that. I'm not that label, So because I don't stick to that label, I'm me. But I'm going to play with certain labels because
it's just easier for people to understand. That's all it is.
Or it's just like, well, living food, it's enzyme rich food, enzyme life, it's not in dead. And even the cooked, more you cook, there's enzymes, less nutrients, and we talk about amino acids and proteins. There's so much myth going on, all the amino acids is all in the plants, and the nuts and seeds. So, and then someone can say, well, it's like, well, I'm not really interested, I'm good. I'm happy where I am.
Exactly. You're living proof of it anyway, so that no one can really say anything.
Some people say it works for some, not for others. Well, we're all very under the skin. We're all very same biology.
I mean, ultimately, I would say, and this even includes myself, people say it don't work or it don't think. Ultimately, it's, and again, I don't want to say this like sounding judgy, but it's just, it don't work for your ego. That's really what it comes down to as well. Like when people say it doesn't work, it's really a lot to do with dropping your ego. A lot of this stuff I've noticed as well.
And not going deeper, and not facing yourself, not really facing yourself. You basically you're in your addiction. The food we have is I'm going to say, great. It served us to now. So don't give yourself a hard time about it, but shift it. now you're old enough, big enough to look at the pain and the trauma that it helped you to get through potentially, like smoking, whatever it is. You know, we're addicted to the food. You know what sugar does to the brain. You know, it's just like we so puts us in an unregulated state, state of dis-ease. So we start eliminating that, and you come back to an ease, and you just it's unbelievable how you can blossom. It doesn't mean you still aren't challenged with certain aspects of old age, but they get less and less and less and less and less. But then what we can do workshop after workshop. I have a friend, he could probably bought 2 houses by now, the amount of money he spent on workshops, And then it's just like, there's a great saying is, I think, I forgot who said it, but walking down the corridor and basically all the answers, all what you've been searching for all your life is there. The keys in the door. And as you're walking down this corridor, you remember all the workshops you've done, all the attachments to it. So you take off your slippers and you creep back because you don't want it, because you're addicted to the journey, chasing when it's under our noses at the very beginning. If that made any sense. But basically, that didn't work. So I'm doing this. Matrix extra,
yeah,
etc. I'm doing this holographic thing. I'm doing this rebirth. I'm 30 regressions, 100 ayahuascas, endless. Anyway, and I got to where I've got to through breath work, not taking other substances. Experimented a little bit, never worked for me. I was introduced through breath work, dream work, daily diary, and energy work. So that was my introduction. So all the others is kind of weird. So all I need to do is a bit of breath work. But you get to a point, I could say it's all about breath, but then an interesting one is, let's just say Buddhas, you get to a state of maybe, is it 1 breath per minute? So is it all about the breath? Of course it's about breath. However, that can be overstated. There's Falun Gong. I was doing Qigong at the time, which is all about breath. And then I did a bit of Falun Gong. Wow, they're not addressing breath. Wow. And then just that last bit of movement might be a centimeter. Boom. Wow, what did I feel there? I felt the same thing that the breath did. It just, poof, wow. And what I find in Jinshin Jitsu, is a release of energy. So, of course, I'm going to reiterate, we all need to breathe. So I could go on and on and on, and I realize I got to disappear. Astrology, though, I mean, that's a whole nother one.
One thing before you go, I always like to do this little thing is, before you tell me, like I always like to ask people what their sun sign is and what they love or dislike about their sun sign. It's just a little fun thing, But brother, let's play a quick little game. I'd like you to try and guess my sun sign, and I'll guess yours.
You know what? Before I learned astrology, I was amazing at that. This is 16, 17. I was dipping in and out because my older sister used to look at that. And I got it down to a T somehow. But then I learned astrology, and it's just like, oh my gosh, am I picking up on your rising? Am I picking up on your moon?
Yeah, that's what I mean. You could be picking up.
So
what would you go with?
What would I go with? Oh, well,
I think I told you my moon sign earlier.
Yeah. See this? Okay. So I would have.
Just whatever. It doesn't matter, man.
No. I would have thought. I'm just going to say an air sign, even though Scorpio is coming to mind. But I would have say an air sign.
No, Scorpio. You're right.
Scorpio.
Yeah.
That was coming to my mind. But the reason why I said air sign is because of what you're doing here.
Yeah.
So Scorpio, awesome.
Yeah, I'm a Scorpio sun.
So that's an interesting thing. See, if I listen to just what I'm getting shown, Scorpio, but I went thinking, okay, but he's doing this here. So okay, Scorpio sun, moon, Taurus.
Yeah, and Leo rising.
Oh, awesome. So was you born on a full moon then? Was it?
Yeah, it was just literal. Well, My sun's 26 degrees and the moon's 18. So just, yeah, pretty much.
That picks it up, can't you, really? A wide one. But then, so our daughter is just born on Beltane.
Right.
Our new daughter. And same. Scorpio, sun. Have I got that right now? No, on the full moon. Scorpio moon.
Taurus sun, yeah.
Say same.
Could I guess? I guessed. From what I got from you, I got either like Pisces or Taurus, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Okay, well, an Aquarium.
Aquarius.
Aquarian of all things, huh?
Yeah.
You know what though? When I met Aquarians, it's just like, oh my gosh. What I was witnessing so contrary in terms of how certain Aquarians were. But my moon is Leo.
Okay, that's where your creative side comes from, probably.
Yeah. And Virgo rising.
Wow, yeah.
And then, we go into planets. I've got, Pluto, Uranus in my 12th. So that's interesting. Pluto, wide conjunction of my ascendant. So it's conjunct my ascendant, and then it goes on and on. But
I've got a lot of Sagittarius. My big three ain't Sagittarius, but I've got a big conjunction in Sagittarius.
Okay.
I've got Jupiter, Mercury, Uranus, Neptune, and South Node all in my 5th house.
Wow.
And my sun's in my 5th house as well.
Wow. So South Node. See, I'm big with the South Nodes, Chiron, I in this program with
So did you say you was a Virgo rising?
Yeah.
Interesting.
18 degrees, It's so amazing when you start seeing, when I started learning it at 17, and it's just like, oh my gosh, that evening I'm ringing my mum up. When was Pinkborn? When was Macron? She's giving me the dates. I believe they were the right times. Dates and times. and then I'm looking at them. It's like, wow, it's all so self-explanatory, And of course we can manipulate, but it depends how you've been taught it. If you've really been immersed in it, and your teacher ain't letting you get away with nothing, then she's making you look at yourself first. Every little projection. This is the beautiful thing about this Chris Alexandra, amazing, beautiful woman. Was any little projection you're putting out, it's just like, you couldn't. You'll just get shown. So you really got to see yourself as you're learning astrology. So that was a beautiful thing. So it wasn't just learning the theory. So you really got to see how life played out for different people in your life. And then, over them next 30 years, I would dip in and out. I wouldn't look at it much. I just, something would happen with the
I'll go through stages where like what happens with me, I'll go through a stage and I'll think, oh, let me just check it because I'm feeling a particular way.
Yeah.
And then I think, oh, okay, the moon, like I notice, like, because I'm a Leo rising, I notice whenever the moon's in Leo or in Cancer in my 12th house, I feel a bit intense and a bit, not moody, so per se, but a bit like, I noticed that whenever the moon's in Leo, like,
well, if it's be going over your natal moon, wouldn't it? Yeah. So it's going to have an influence.
So this Scorpio full moon we just had, oh my God, man, it was intense, man. It was just.
I bet for you, with that access is going on as well,
But again, like, it goes back to like. Even like with the food thing we was talking about, it's the same thing with astrology. Because they say like a wise man rules his stars, but a fool is ruled by his stars.
Yeah.
So again, it's you can look at it a similar ways and understanding what's going on, and you controlling it and not letting it control you.
Let's just say, like, if you wanted to get to London or you're going to a new place, you got an A to Z or a sat nav these days. So you may look. And you may keep looking until you get it right. And then the tools. And then you just know.
Exactly.
I know that part. The same might come up. Oh, shit, they put a one-way in that they never used to do. Or they've added a new road. It's like, wow, okay. You have to look again. It's like, and then, so the tools, and that's the thing. We're wise not to, again, externalize, project out too much, and it be a crutch, because we're giving our power away again, and all the time we do that, we're setting ourselves up. I won't say failure, but setting ourselves up for spirit to kind of come on, to come back in, to come back, draw the energy back in, come back home, breathe yourself back home, whatever it may be, come back home, So it really feels beautiful that, if you was to say where you're living now, well, I'm living here, and then I happen to be living here and in Brazil, So little words are good to reiterate.
Just before we go, brother, just quickly, like, how's that been for you, and how long you been there for?
Well, we've been here, I think, about 3 months. We were in Morocco 3 months before that. Like I said, certain situations, I didn't say on this one, brought us here. Certain situations back home escalated, and it's just like, there's no way I'm going to be bringing myself and my partner back to that, whilst even though I could have been somewhere else in a different environment. But it's so important. I could spend another hour sharing how important what I've got to realize it is in terms of talking about the field, the book, The Living Field, or The Living Field, Children as Mirrors, that is in the making. So important keeping that field regulated, so, because that's the imprinting. That's what you and me are friggin' trying to work out now. So if people really got to know that when you was born, if I was your dad, to keep that relaxed, keep the mum in the best space she can. And you're not saying you're not a genius, but you would grow up with able to support naturally, more humble, more nice. Not saying I'm not a nice person as well.
Yeah,
we'll be having to address all these issues now. So that's how so important. That's the new earth, But people get caught up in the cosmetic. Well, what about that? What is it's like? Well, you keep running them stories, We really need to tune back in and really focus on the most fundamental, And it's not being sensitive and all that. It's just being, you wake up and you just realize, wow, you do what you would have wanted when you was a child.
Exactly.
As I've gone along, my eldest boy is nearly 40 now. I'm 38. So as I've gone along, I look back and I put my hand in my head. I just did my best each time. So how beautiful to revisit that now and give the best of me, or just be the best of me, to whoever I touch, and whatever I bring up for them is their story, ultimately. My thing is to stay on the path, stay connected, stay at a certain vibration. It's not higher or lower. It's just a birthright vibration, more pure, more closer to source, so I can meet my daughters, and meet them the best I can. Yeah, of course, I'm not always there, but it always gets better, like you're sort of saying, we can always do better, And so I mean, I could go on a lot about that. So how Brazil's amazing. Morocco was amazing because of seasonal foods. It was just a total another level. We auspiciously ended up in Brazil. A good friend, got a part payment flights we managed to do, scraping our way to get here. But a good friend had a place there, and he's let us stay there. And then another friend, look, all these friends I've supported in the past. So it's nice people stepping up and sharing back on a level. So Brazil at the moment, epic. In terms of prices, in terms of fruits, Morocco in season fruits, it was another level. Brazil seasonal fruits is another level. I remember once after my 120-day fast, and I was in St. Lucia supporting a little say part of a workshop there. Came back and I'm like, I was on a first podcast. I'm like, you can't heal in England, you know. Like, well, I had to swallow my words a bit. You can, but it's really difficult. Or anywhere, really difficult if you haven't got the sun and the real ripe in seasonal foods. It's you stay at a place.
That's so interesting, brother, because me and my brother, like a little while back, like we was looking at like the map of the world, and we were saying that like obviously you got like the Tropic of Cancer, the Equator, and the Tropic of Capricorn, and like I was saying it like it must be a lot easier living inside the tropics to do like
So
the food, and like it must be much easier than obviously in the UK we're way out of the tropics, so in the winter time we crave that bit of warmth, and
fully
it's such an
challenged.
interesting point you brought up.
Yeah. Oh, it's I watch people. So I'll say it here. I'm sure I've said it before. Surviving, thriving, they say, and in a tropical climate. And yeah, of course you can. You would. And now I hear some people saying, "Well, I've still managed in colder climates." And like me, yeah, we would dehydrate a bit, and we would go for more comfort foods. We good to own it. I mean, I did a fast, my couple of fasts in winter, so I could have sustained that. But why? Where I was at that time. So on a level, I remember I was in St. Lucia, and a friend's dad. I said, "Wow, you're a legend," and he was a legend. What he did in St. Lucia, and he moved to Canada, and what he did was amazing. And then he looks at me, he said, "No, but you're a legend." I'm like, "Why am I a legend?" He says, doing what you do here is easy. Doing that in England, whoa, he couldn't get his head around. How did you sustain that in England? 17, I think 16 years at the time. So it's like, oh, I get it. So, on a level, it's not ego. It's just like giving you so much respect. I just give myself so much gratitude. I don't care if anyone does or not, and so much respect. I'm just aware of the level of what we have done and what we have achieved, what we've come from to where we are now, and sustaining that. It's all very well like a relationship, getting the man you want, getting the woman you want. Okay, now how do you sustain that without maybe dominating each other or trying to mold them in? How do you sustain that, in terms of, so the food, you do the food, how do we sustain that? So there's all these tools and different ways, and, you might find your friends change, your environment changes. So go with it. Friends may come with you, friends may not come with you, and that's the way it is. And then I remember something, I think there was a topic, someone put a question to Gary, what do you do when you're eating around other people who are eating meat and all that? Well, eventually you just as he sort of said, if you go, you make sure everyone is going to be vegan, or you don't go. There's situations you can't be, maybe you can't, situations you might find yourself in them situations, that's not the case. However, we do our best. It's not to demonize anyone, but it's just like stand in who we are, so others can get to realize, people might say, well, people die still vegan, vegetarian. Well, more vegetarian they do, yes. Vegan, yes, we all die sometime. My thing is, even if whenever he goes, is being in life, more life day by day, so I live in life, there's a saying, isn't it, better to live a day than a life of misery, so that's what I see where I was before 19 years ago. Once I was all in misery, I had my times, and again, won't knock any of the relationships, beautiful relationships. It's all part of us getting to where we could at the time, and that's looking back, that's as far as we could go together. And then obviously it went the way it did. So and if I was going to knock it all, I would be denying my children, I'd be denying my mum, I'd be denying my relationships, and even the more troublesome ones where kids have been denied, maybe because of certain aspects of the characteristics of certain people. I don't blame. Society is set up a very certain way to keep us on the treadmill and keep us, slave to a system and, chained to pharmaceutical. It's like big pharma. It's just so. If I blame others, I blame myself. So I choose not to do blame. Yeah, I might reiterate certain things and make statements, but if there's energy charged, then I need to look at that. Or like we say, if there's an incident in the room now, I act. Oh, you acted like that? Yeah, damn right I acted like that. What is wrong with acting like that? If your child or someone's been threatened, someone isn't getting it after a while, after so many times, and they do the same thing again, and then they, trying to do it on you. So yeah, I stand in my essence, So there's nothing wrong with it. Healthy is that anger. It's actually, to me, that's just energy.
Yeah.
Standing in your power, So we can go on and on and on. So the astrology is amazing. So my journey, 18 years food, 17 years taking it to festivals, meeting so many people, supporting so many people on the way, people working in the CAF. A lot of people having issues with me because holding the CAF space and showing them that they can't, certain things they cannot see in themselves. People who really did know me well, taking them through like in the middle of the CAF, while people are serving. There we are locking in. The person's going into deep trauma because he knows me. So otherwise, he would get away with projecting an issue that he saw in his dad, but projecting onto me. But he knows me. He was even saying that, but it's Pete. And he came out of it and realized, wow, there was my dad drilling me for. And what I had just mentioned, hey, Phil, or whoever it was, John, Harry, whoever. Hey, maybe you need to that. And it's just like, on an energetic level, the whole kitchen went dark. Boom, on an energetic level. Like the Dementors came in, on Harry Potter. That's a great analogy. How do they take us? We are in Azkaban. We're in it because we're all in trauma. That's how we're locked here. We talk all these movies, they give it in plain sight, So the best thing we can do is resolve some of them traumas so we're not running the treadmill, becoming self-fulfilling prophecies. So many situations, people who knew me well in the CAF was experiencing going through, regressions in the CAF. So because so many people get away trying to project this, project that, and ganging up. It was just, I didn't take it personally. It was just like, whoa, I'd be seeing my boys and daughters. I taught them at 4 and 5, all this nonsense adults are doing at 30 and 40 and 50. It's like, whoa, Anyway, as you know, I can go on and go on.
Yeah, no problem, brother. It's been great talking to you. We said an hour. We've gone well over. I know. I'm all for it. But yeah, before we go,
yes,
just remind people again your website and what's on there, and your Instagram and your YouTube. Just like quick roundup.
Yes, so there's Simply Rawgeous Instagram, Simply Rawgeous Facebooks, and Simply Rawgeous YouTube. They're the main, and a website, Simply Rawgeous website.
Yeah,
website needs updating a little bit. Having a bit of time out. We're still posting a lot because that's what we're doing. That's what we do. And at the moment, we've got a bundle offer of 6 ebooks. Actually, good time to promote that. 6 ebooks, and the festival one for 17 years, taking the food, the CAF, the festivals, and recipes from that. And there's a bread one. There's a cracker one. And there's a Moroccan one, and there's a few more, and they're half price, the bundle, and half of that money goes to this Sasha farm.
Yeah, I saw it.
Which is to do with animal rights, and with Gary Yourofsky. So over the month we're going to be donating anything that comes in this month, 50% to that, to the Sasha farm, at Sasha farm. Donate anyway. If you feel a drive, a passion, it's a really good cause. People doing that work, doing certain work need to be praised. We need to praise each other doing work like that. So they are on offer for the month. 6 of them. You can jump in. There's no excuses. Made pretty simple. All these lush ingredients. If you look on the website and the Facebook, you see the gourmet foods. Foods that have created very similar, surpass apple pies and crumbles, surpass the normal pizzas, and lasagnas, burgers, falafels, curries. Designed them so they're so close to what you normally have, but you don't have the crash. You don't have the up and down. So I think they're beautiful recipes. Beautiful start for people to jump on and bring it more into their life. So be aware. I think in one of them it has some protocols with the ginseng. This before food under the collarbone. So everyone, if you do this in any kind of nervous situation where you're trying to regulate before food, this is like your prebiotic, and probiotic. Apologies. And then before food, you do this 5 minutes, and you reset your nervous system. Yeah, you might not feel it instantly, but eventually, your body knows. That's it. Right, boom. Let's reset. And then you have your food, and then you're able to digest it more because it helps the digestive system, the stomach. And then after, you've got your high ones, which they call the inside of your thighs. You cross your hands. You don't have to cross. And then after food, so that helps digesting the food. Since I'm not doing so many saunas here and all that, I'm doing so much more ginseng. Even little Baba does it. We do it before food. And then you really get to assimilate the food. Makes you more present to be able to receive the food. Digest. Not just rushing, gulping it down, because that becomes a reflection of what we're doing in life. We're running too fast. And judging anyone else who's a bit more slow or a bit more present.
That's so interesting what you just said, brother, about like not rushing it or not being like for example, I've found that like back in the day when I want food or eat food, I really fancy this or I really want that, or like while you're eating it, you're moaning and groaning and doing all this stuff. Like that's another thing that I've slowly worked on as well. Like I don't I try not to approach food in that way. Like even if I am eating normal food, I just try to eat it calmly and do you get what I mean? That's so not to lust for it, basically.
Yeah, being a chef as well. Yeah, this is it. It's like if you're really got to eat something, it's like do something. Sit down, 10 minutes, breathe, and then approach it from a different angle. So it's not because all the time you're doing that, you're feeding an old paradigm. So you're like, this is another thing people do. They go, I see most of these ways where people are going 1 step forward and 2 step back.
Yeah.
So you could be doing raw food, but you're like, I'm dying for this, and everything's rushed. And it's like, whoa, I can't eat meals that have been rushed. It's a couple of times I've ate other people's raw food, wondered why I could only get halfway through. The most
energy
beautiful colors
into it goes into the food as well.
Yeah, in the cafe, why I say to people before you work in a cafe, do some focus work, meditation, yoga, sauna. Don't bring your rubbish in the kitchen because what goes into the food, this lush ingredients. If you're not present and you're chit chatting away, it all goes into the food. So that's the whole alchemy, the whole holistic approach to why the food was so good as well. Not always because couldn't be tentative all the time watching everything, but in the beginning I always used to make most of the food over the first so many years, because of knowing that. And it's quite a challenge getting someone into that space, not teaching them, just getting into that space before they're doing the food. You're in a euphoric space. I still have the same love that I had for the food in the first 5 days of doing the raw food, I still have the same passion. So when I make it, I still have that same connection, same passion. So it hasn't changed, because on a level, I say I haven't sold out, whatever, but because it's coming from a holistic approach first. It's not because of trying to make money. I met so many people, I tried that, didn't make money. Well, yeah, but I've been funding it. It's never been about the money. And it's not blowing my own trumpet, but I know why I was more assigned to do it. It's not why I did it, even though I may use it. People say, oh, festivals, oh, saunas. They just bring in their either, let's just say, constructed view of festivals getting smashed. It's like, you ain't got a clue. Or saunas, they bring in more the perverted thing about saunas. Still haven't got a clue. Because my whole approach, it was just like, if you only knew how such a beautiful healing protocol this has been for me, you would not be bringing in, your more contaminated views and thinking. But that's all cool. We just stand, we do our work, and people can project.
Hence the saying, actions speak louder than words. Yeah.
And if I get caught, and I'm not doing it to be seen. That's the other thing. I'm doing it for myself, because do it for myself, it supports everyone else around me.
Exactly, because hence the saying, like, because you're doing it for yourself, but the bonus of that is you're becoming a good example for other people. Do you get what I'm saying? So
you sort out your own inner war, then the wars will just dissipate.
Say that again, brother. Sorry.
We sort out our own inner universe, our own inner war.
Exactly.
The inner, we're like kamikazes, playing Russian roulette. You know that one? Yeah.
Yeah.
With what we put in our mouth and what we do every day. Honestly, when you really look at it, that's what we are. Taught kamikazes. We are also like prison guards, prisoning each other. I look back, I'm just reiterating the same stuff to my boys 30 odd years ago, the best I can. But I look back, it's like, whoa, I'm just doing the best of what I could, but on a level, still imprinting, still good workers, to school, to nursery, abandon them. We all have these abandonment issues because we've all majority of us went to school.
Yeah.
There's so many layers deep down. So how we can change that? We can shift that. We can revisit them areas in ourselves rather than projecting out and getting triggered. We can revisit them areas where of abandonment, of not loved by a mum or dad the best, they did their best. But it's not them. It's just they were taught maybe even worse.
Exactly, yeah.
So we got to not forget, should I say. We just forgive. We don't have to keep sending them love. Just get on with loving yourself. And then there's this ancestral business. We are all there now. We're all one. I did all this ancestral here and all that. Just be here now. Work with the now, Getting lost on too many regressions, too many rebirthing, too many ayahuascas, Cambo, this and all, trying to get the remedy when it's under our very noses right now. Just need the right discipline, right tools, right people around you to support them. I'm going to leave it there.
Cool, brother. Thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate you taking your time to speak to me. And maybe we can do it again another time on a different subject or whatever. But it's been really cool talking to you. And like I said, thank you, man. And I appreciate it.
Welcome. And any support with the food, let's just drop me some messages. But
thank you, brother. I appreciate that.
But every time before you have a craving, because that's the little seed of changing the pattern. Rather than rushing, just sit for 5 minutes. You just slowly change that pattern.
Yeah.
And then eventually you'll find, I don't do that no more. So, just why am I needed that? So we're just shoving down an emotion that we've not even been aware of what's triggered, where we've gone into the supermarket. And, subconsciously we pick up on all sorts of things, we're it's like we're putting our child into areas that we would not really be putting our 2-year-old in, but we put ourselves in there. You know, a theory, an analogy I used for a person, an analogy I used. You know, it's like, well, look, would you do that to your 2-year-old? No way, I'd never do that. So why are you doing that to yourself? You know, it's like,
that's a weird thing about humans. I've noticed, you know, about things we wouldn't necessarily do to others, but we self-destruct to ourselves as well. I've noticed that, like,
yeah. And you do get others just doing it to others, and you know, just which is a real narcissistic. Another deeper level, narcissistic is another deeper level of a deeper trauma. You know, all trauma based. You know, switching off, disconnect. If you're connected, we would not be doing these atrocities and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, anyway, yeah, I better go.
No worries, brother. It's like I said. It's been great talking to you, and yeah, who knows? Like, if there's anything, or even if you want to like come on and share something on my platform, you're always welcome to message me.
Yeah, you know, and if people want, you know, if anyone's looking at it, wants me to talk about, something more specific, let us know. But yeah, but the food journey, recognizing it's like when people do a ritual and they write something down and burn it. Do you really know what you're doing? You know, on a level, and then certain people have come back, or it's like, oh my God, my whole world's falling apart. And this is like, well, did you know what you're a magical being? Do you know what you did? You asked for that.
Yeah,
but I didn't ask for that. Well, it's clearing, it's cleansing. You know, so we are, by going on the food, going on any protocol, we are advocating, we are doing magic. You know, going on the food, we are inviting change. So that's going to bring up some old stuff. So yes, it's not an easy journey in the beginning. So you are ultimately, by shifting from a heavier flesh, definitely into, you know, more plant-based, vegan, you are saying you want to change. You are saying you want to go in to look at stuff. Stuff's going to come up. And then you've got to be aware, especially in a relationship and your children. They will reflect your field. Your mum, you know, when your mum was having difficulty, you're reflecting stuff in her she wants to keep repressing.
Yeah.
So you shifted your field. It's our energy field. So we've got to get back to the field. All the mind's just pretty junctified.
Yeah.
You know, it's the field. You just shifted your field. It's a vibration. You know, we are also taught, I'm going to throw in a bit here, you know, we're taught to put out the lights of the children. That's how we, you know, because if the children are coming in more pure and we haven't done the work, again, there comes the trigger. So without some knowingly, without even knowing, we squash that down to bring them to the level of what we can deal with. We all do that. I'm not sure why certain people aren't addressing that. Whether, you know, maybe Gabor Mate does, etc. I'm not knocking certain people, but it goes beyond that. You know, we can get stuck. It happened with 3-4 months. It's the feel beyond that. Again, it's us in the beginning, and we can change it, and it's not too late to change that. So it isn't all gloom and doom. We can shift it, but recognize the real root as opposed to reiterating this happened to me 3 months or 3 years, which I used to do. You know, it's just like, but as you go deeper, oh wow, that's amazing. Another door opens. I expect many more doors will still keep opening.
Cool. No problem, brother. Like I said, thank you I really appreciate you taking your time to talk to me. And yeah, we'll catch up soon, man.
Yeah. And remember this, and the mudras. They all.
Yeah, you know what? I was looking into it yesterday because obviously I've heard you talk about it a lot. Do you know what is weird? I find myself naturally doing stuff like that.
No, we naturally do it. You know, we naturally do it. All they're fours.
Yeah, I'll do a lot. I'm naturally just like hold my hand on my neck and do this. I don't know if that's doing anything. But
yeah, you got 3 points there, but 4, as they say, we come in and we go out there.
Yeah,
which is really interesting, you know. And you know, and again, I'm going to throw in. They say 7 lineages on your mum's side, 7 lineages on your dad's side, but you know, some people have said 10. So we come in with all that, you know, unresolved karma, unresolved stuff. You know, the karma is made. You know, it's just cause and effect. That happens. We're affected by it. So that's in our field when we're born. So, you know, we had that to, and you could say chose it, whether we chose it or not. You know, we could be just hoodwinked, you know. Whatever we are, we're here. Recognize what a potential connection you have had. How do we get back there? How do we sustain that? And then, of course, you got to let go of a lot of the old you know, and people want to keep pulling you back to the old identity of you, because you know, do all what they can to try and trigger you to justify it. See, you're the same, you know. It's just like, it's amazing. It's like, well, if you want to keep thinking I'm the same, whatever, you know. I see all these things happening, and we do keep some of our certain traits. Some of them can serve us well and be very healthy.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going now. So. And it's really been nice. Thanks for having me on.
It's all good, man.
Yes. Love. And